Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
We'll be having a panel discussion. Ready for it?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
You all wanted to talk to each other, know so many things about each other, so we can have it here. Let us start. Any questions from your end, or should I, put up something?
I
Well,
have a
first, let me.
question. I have a
Yes,
question
honey.
for Stephen.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed how you incorporated spiritual teachings into corporate and how you translated them into specific items such as vision, and how you translated the inspiration as incubation period, and etc. And because the topic here is on money and on leadership, I was curious if you could give us some examples, maybe your favorite or the one that stands out on how that spirituality has been transpired into a team that may have been having challenges, and what's like the before and after once they imbued that spiritual technology.
Okay. I have spent, 18 years as a corporate consultant, and innovation is a big part of what we do because that's all in strategy. Now, what I have done in corporate world is I have avoided the use of the word spirituality or references to it, because up till recently, or shall we say up to this year, I have not felt the open receptivity to talking in this language. I have tried to speak to people on the side about it, but in my experience, the reception has not really been there. The reception for spirituality is very strong in small business owners, in individual entrepreneurs like ourselves, is very strong there. And when I coach them, when I do my coaching with them, they do use spirituality a lot, right? However, in the corporate world, there's a barrier there, and I think even the executives, the managers, the senior management who practice spirituality on their own in their private lives, they do not want to talk about it in the corporate world for whatever reason. I do not know if you guys feel that too.
Yes.
So it has never been explicit in that manner. Yeah.
I can feel that.
I can share more about this. Is about the holding spaces, right? We talk about the corporate culture and how it's designed. We talk about just like I talk about circle of being. What I'm trying to create is like a holding space that is different from the status quo and corporate environments where people can actually come into this space and feel right where they are at the spiritual aspect of it, and they can kind of co-create in that space. Because if it's in a space in the corporate aspects of it, there's a structure and we talk about the energy, and the energy of the feel of the culture itself kind of restricts that to happen. Unless you actually transform the senior management and allows them to kind of shift their culture into this modern age we talk about, the new world where spirituality is going to be there, right? It's very difficult to work in the environment if that container does not shift.
Yep. However, in trying to answer more directly to your question, Hani, one of the things that I do actually, and which has resulted in really good results in terms of all this holding space and all that, besides my consulting work, I also do training just like you do. And in training, I usually on my own hold space for the people and hold space in the room before they even come in. And I see a marked difference between the time when I did not do that and the time I started doing that. There is a lot of difference in the collaboration, in the understanding that they are able to receive, and in basically the openness to getting the ideas. I'm sure you've noticed that also. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is yeah.
Yeah. And the part
please
about
continue. Please.
I'm sorry. Okay, and the part
Please
about
continue.
incubation, it is really, really so true. People try in our corporate world, they really try to just ram things home. They want to sit down and they want to get the problem done, I say, go home. And when I say go home and they come back again and they say, hey, you know, that's amazing. We found the answer. Now, of course, they never relate it back to me telling them go home. They never relate it back to incubation, but that is what happened. Right.
So true. So true.
So whenever I do retreats for companies and all that, sometimes there is no choice. They want to hold it over a weekend of 3 days and all that. So, okay, no choice. But where I can, I separate it. Come back again, separate it, come back again. And they do not notice this themselves, but it makes a difference.
So all this is basically, we need to put it into business ethics, I would say.
Yeah.
Is it?
We
so
put
that,
it in.
Along with the material poverty, the spiritual poverty does not remain. I mean, both prosper.
Yeah, exactly.
Materially and spiritually, when you prosper, it is equivalent. There is nothing wrong, as Hani said, that we really want to be wealthy in the material world. But for that, the energy should come from the space.
Yes. And I believe there is nothing wrong with wanting material, and there's nothing wrong with, and that definitely can coincide with being spiritual. Yes. Having said that, I do believe the order is important.
Yes.
Are we spiritual for the sake of becoming wealthy, or are we, right? That's a difference. So our focus is first on being wealthy, and then we try to be spiritual to become wealthy. And the other way is, look, we just want to be spiritual anyway, and then the wealth comes. There is a difference in my mind. Now, I have strong discussions about this with colleagues of mine. We have different opinions, but that's my opinion.
Yes, absolutely right.
I would like to mention.
And this is what Ramaswamiji said. Yes, Ramaswamiji, please.
See, what we want is sustainable prosperity. As I mentioned to you, if you are a spiritual person, especially taking the example of the chariot, you will earn wealth subject to righteousness. You will not be corrupt. You will not aspire for ill-gotten wealth just to multiply wealth. The wealth should be subject to righteousness, what is due to you according to the contribution you make to yourself as well as to society. And in the contribution that you make to society, you benefit, not the other way. Don't plunder the society to acquire wealth. And that is where spirituality comes. It imparts values which restrains you and prompts you to act in the right manner to benefit to society. So a sustainable prosperity, whether it is for the nation or for the individual, is very, very important.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ramaswamy.
So,
I love that.
Management, business is external and spirituality is internal. This is what you said. And that imagery of chariot that you gave, that was wonderful. That was from Gita. Being a karma yogi, when you are a karma yogi, you are not attached to, as even Stephen said. And in fact, all of you have been talking about it. Yes, not getting attached to the goal. Just the process is important.
You are just like a water on a lotus leaf.
Yes.
It's there, it doesn't stick to it. And when you are sensing dangers, you are working like a tortoise. You know, a tortoise, when it senses danger, it just withdraws its limbs. Like that, you withdraw your organs, senses. So that should be your attitude. And your productivity will increase.
That does not pollute your mind.
That's most important, because the mind is such a weapon or as instrument, as Max Muller, the famous German philosopher, put it. If there is one country on this planet where the human mind has pondered on the problems of mankind and found solutions, it is India. So the mind is one which has got tremendous potential for doing good. You can imagine all things good, and then with the help of the intellect and the senses properly directed, you can convert it into character energy, which I underline is very important for the survival of the world and for real progress.
Yes, and when your mind is not polluted, your heart is clear. And when your heart is clear, that circle of energy is formed, as you said, right? And it is heart to heart talk.
2,500 years ago, over 2,500 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle said, what the world requires is cleansing of hearts and not of garments.
Yes,
That's a very, very
absolutely.
valuable, is it not? So don't go for
Absolutely.
external benefits or external satisfaction or pleasures, but you clean your heart, then everything becomes
Mhm.
clean. So we used to
Love.
say you must have the intellect of Shankara and the heart of Buddha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Combination is ideal.
Wonderful. That is absolutely fine. Love is the highest form of energy that
Yes,
is
energy.
prevailing, and that should rule.
Yes,
That should rule. It is only love which can make you work the best way you can. Anything,
yes.
anybody? I think that was
I
Ricky. You were focusing on love and that heart. To I loved your stories about your bosses and how they. This is how a good leader should be. A good boss should be having that empathy.
In fact, I would like to add spirituality is a science of human possibilities. For example, if you see the banyan tree, which has a seed, you can't see the seed. You cut it, you can't see anything. But from nothing, the huge banyan tree has come and it has
Yes.
got enough seeds to plant banyan trees all over the world and give shade. That is the contribution from nothing to that. So, spirituality is something where consciousness is not to be seen, but out of that comes everything. The whole universe is out of that. So
Out
that
of
is
that.
the thing. We are
And
aware of it.
Randy did speak about this. It is on the superficial, on the surface that we are living.
Yes.
Yes, yes, and I agree with T. Rasmanji. Is we from the seed. How do we see the big tree,
Yeah.
right? When it's still a seed,
Yeah.
right? And see it through that lens, and that's where we actually see, the possibilities of, we ourselves and the people around us.
So the connection has to be that emotional attachment inside. Again, attachment should not be taken as attachment to the result.
Spirituality helps a lot in preserving environment. For example, you also may know that we worship the trees. A person who goes for cutting a tree first seeks permission and then only he cuts it, that too in an old branch. He doesn't destroy it so that the benefit is removed. That is the attitude. You must love everything as if you are seeing oneness. And if you have give me time, I will explain where the feeling of oneness is seen with reference to Swami Vivekananda. Once he was going to the Himalayas and all alone, and when he entered a forest, he asked none of his disciples should follow him. Then, after he went some distance, he found a tiger just in front of him, staring at him. He stood face to face with the tiger, hardly 10 feet away, and then said, "Here is an opportunity for me to offer Lord Shiva." He assumed the tiger was Lord Shiva and stood still. The tiger came, licked his feet, and went back. That is the feeling of oneness. And there are so many cases where people who achieve a high level of spirituality and oneness with the entire universe, they find that there is no duality.
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
agree.
was wonderful. Advaita,
So,
non-duality.
Yoti, this is I want
Yes.
to ask everyone
Yeah.
in this
Sure, sure. Go
lovely
ahead, please.
room.
Please.
This is an eternal debate in leadership. Is leader born or made?
Oh, wonderful.
I'm having this conclusion in myself. Please, everybody can correct me. Is spirituality is given, or we seek for it? I don't know. I come to a conclusion. It's given. It's like a blessing that somebody can have that kind of spirituality. If spirituality consciousness is given, then perhaps leadership and good leaders are born, not made. Sometimes in corporation, you cannot choose the CEO. The CEO choose you, right? The CEO choose the consultant, right? And how spiritual is the CEO, you cannot choose. And by the story of Stephen said that you must be very careful for the spiritual thing and choosing the world of spirituality. So is this right? Please correct me. Is perhaps leaders are
I
born.
have a
Let's
I
put
have
it
a
in
view
the
on
spirituality.
this.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
our leaders,
so
he wants to know whether leaders are born or they
Or
are
made.
made
yeah,
or
I
they
mean,
are
I
made.
totally take the point that you're saying that like spiritual, so consciousness, I believe, is in everybody. It is dormant, however, in a lot of leaders in the corporate world, especially if they're disconnected from their source, which is their consciousness, right? And but the point is that they will have their awakening, and if we as liberated leaders are in contact with them, and if they come onto our path, then it is our job to hold our spirituality frame strong enough, just like what Stephen and Randy were saying, hold that space strong enough that it can tip over that curiosity on their side so that it can create a ripple effect of awakening. So I don't think it's a duality of are they born or are they given the spirituality, but it's more of like, how are we going to catalyze that spirituality to catapult it? Because the world right now is crazy, right? And there's so many leaders who are disconnected yet in such high power positions, and they are so open and during this pandemic to try a different way because the things that they've been doing are not working anymore. So I find that it is our role and our duty to show a different way, to design a different system, to design a system in which spirituality, wealth, and profit and good for the world, so service to all, unity for one, what our song was singing about, that one earth, one consciousness to be expressed in business. And so I find that it is so important to find the right words and the right motivation to kind of just pin and just stick that knife right in there to open up and crack open to the consciousness of those leaders so that they can wake up and realize that you can have a good heart to start with, what Ramaswamy was saying, like your heart, and what you guys were saying, like you can start with your heart, and then don't make a mistake that idea from your heart is something that you dreamt up, or just, if you have a desire to be wealthy and spiritual and light and bring light into the world, then you have to find a way to make that done in a conscious way, because there is no other way. It's unsustainable any other way.
In business, in
So
fact,
you,
according to me, it should be cooperation and not competition. Competition actually destroys it. It results in wastage of resources, whereas cooperation gives respect to the other man's requirements. It respects to the other man, and then there is an adjustment by which the society's interests are met without a clash of interests of the business. So cooperation should replace competition, and there spirituality comes. If a person is spiritual, so I will give you an example. An entrepreneur years ago, he told his chartered accountant, "Look here, you please give me a scheme by which every employee of mine will get 1 million rupees when he retires." On his own, without the employees asking, this man is offering as an entrepreneur, as a promoter of the company. So that is something which is spontaneous. This comes only if the heart is big.
yes.
If you know that you
And
are
that-
one with him,
Yeah.
you understand the requirements of the worker and do it. And that promotes better work culture in the organization. And there will be
Maybe I
harmony.
can. Oh, sorry.
this is
Maybe I
what
can
the
contribute
circle of
something.
energy is. This is what the cooperation is. This is what the heart to heart talk is. This is what Stephen says, raising the energy is. So I think, and as you asked, the question was whether leaders are born or they are made. One thing what clicked me was that our souls are part of that whole, right? I think we all agree to this. So we all are given some talent or the other. So
Here, my
perhaps
explanation is
Yeah, maybe I give you my opinion on that, whether leaders are born or made, you are born spiritual or you're made spiritual. I give you the aspect from the Qigong point of view, right? Qi is a life force. We were all born with the original life force, right? We all
yes.
have it in us, and the life force sustains us and cures us and heals us and all that. Now, after
Absolutely.
we are born, we were born perfect. After we were born, by the things that we experience, by the things that people tell us, by the food we eat, by our own actions, we are diminishing the life force. right? And the
Absolutely.
whole practice of Qigong is to remove all those blockages, right? So that we
Yes.
can return to original Qi. Similarly, I believe we are born spiritual. We are put here for a reason. Through whatever happened in our life, we are removed further and further away from our original spirituality.
From the
And the
source.
idea is just to remove it all and get back to it. So I believe same for leaders, right? We have it. We have it. It's about removing the blockages and returning to it, right? So that's my
Okay,
opinion.
Stephen, for a common man, Stephen, like what you are saying, you have to
Yeah.
remove it. So how can we make people realize that they should reach their highest potential?
Okay,
The highest
want to
potential. How can
I
they be
want to
made, aware?
emphasize.
Yes.
I want to emphasize that, Jyoti, because
Yes.
that's also connect to my question.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's happened that leader in my company doesn't. I cannot say that he is less spiritual than me, no, but doesn't have the same frequency, doesn't have the same level, doesn't have the same chi, and he, by his power, because he is the CEO, right? He just pushed this change in organization. He just pushed this technology, and he just hire expensive consultant to make this technology must be accepted, and everyone in our company must use this technology, or we will perish. And he just give negative like threat that our company must survive. Our company must have this certain kind of profit and on and on. And nobody in the organization dare to challenge him. When he said, okay, my idea is we have this technology, we shall implement this business process. Do you have any better ideas? Every manager in just silent. They don't have any ideas. He pushed this change, and we cannot do. And to continue the Jyoti as how I'm just a middle manager here. Besides pray, but how can he's the CEO and he has all the power? How to raise the consciousness? The same like, hey, you cannot push this. Like Randy said, we have like in a circle, facilitate and ideas, incubate and everything. We have this kind of process, please. But he just push or we die, push or we diminish. So, Jyoti.
The failure of
Again,
management.
Yes.
Please. The failure of management is solely because it has failed to put spirituality as one of the subsystems. Spirituality is not religion. There is no conflict. There is no conflict of interest as far as consciousness is concerned. It is one. So only when it is a question of religion, there so many faiths come and then there is conflict. But here, you have got so many subsystems, which you say make up for a system. So you are going to operate a system objective, in line with the system's objective, the various subsystems work. So you ensure coordination. Why don't we impart spiritual strength by including spirituality as one of the subsystems? That is where management has failed, and it will continue to fail as long as this is done. As long as this is not done, there will be corporate fraud, corruption, swindling, and all sorts of cheating, which will deplete society resources, and the poor will be the ultimate subjects.
So this was the question. This was the question, Ramaswamiji. How can one be made to realize that he is actually, because not all are on that spiritual path. Not
I will
all.
tell you an example.
Okay,
I
I'm just going to add one little tiny thing in here. Maybe this might help. I believe that his actions of being so tyrannical or so one directional is a wake-up call for the entire company, and it is going to wake up everybody to step into their spirituality. So maybe it took him to make everybody realize everyone's in one boat now, and together there's an opportunity to propose a potentially more aligned or more resonant solution. So I would see this as an opportunity for your leadership as a middle management and all of your counterparts and colleagues to stand together and to have a conversation that's open with him. And it is a call for everybody's leadership to rise. And that is even more powerful, right? Maybe his way may not be the right way, but if that shakes up the whole company, then that's an opportunity for awakening.
Yeah, great.
But the rest of the company should be, the rest of the people working in the company should be at the same level.
Leadership should be enlightened. That is very important. It is not mere leadership. It should be enlightened. And enlightenment means you have to draw a resource from spirituality or a value system, which is again based on spirituality. See, our fundamental principle of doing everything based on righteousness or dharma, that is the base. Without that base, society will crumble. So the value system, which is sprouting from spirituality, that value with the equipment of body, mind, and intellect is converted into energy and spiritual character energy, which through education should spread all over the world, especially to the younger generation. And that will create a new world, a new generation of productive workers who will serve society.
So it is, and let us all work on ourselves and raise our energy levels so high that people around us, they also come under that same, energy source. And
for example, if you I will give you my experience. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I have a walk, I pray, then I have do sun yoga, Surya yoga. Then I had my physical exercise by way of yoga asanas. Then I do meditation. Then after my routine, I do my prayers and then start work. My productivity increases. At this age, I am able to write books and articles infinitely. Every month I produce a book. That is in line with my interest. Similarly, in any field of work, a person is engaged. If he imparts the spiritual content, his output will be substantially higher. Yes, undoubtedly, that is true. That is what I would say.
Vicky, just to give you a practical suggestion, right? Just remember this phrase. I'll be very quick, Randy. I'll hand it over to you. Just this phrase, right? It is better to do first and seek forgiveness later than to ask permission for everything you do.
Absolutely, that was wonderful. Wonderful.
Kind of risk-taking, right?
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Okay, over to you, Randy.
Yes, just now, Vicky talking about leadership, is it born or made? Recently, I have a perspective that, I don't know who said this, that we are born into this world for a purpose. If not, we are not born at this time. So our purpose is so high that it's going to change the world. So everybody comes with that potential, right? And we talk about society, all these suppressions are not allowing us to live to the potential. And what we're trying to bring is bring them back to their own space to kind of be able to lead, in their own rights. And talking about leaders, how we can bring them to a space where they can lead from the source, I would say, is I think we kind of lost some aspects of how we are as a human race. We talk about the the tribes, that's from how we humans kind of evolve, have this thing called the vision quest, right? Where they actually go back to nature and they are one with nature. Right? A lot of times when we kind of lost that ability is because we kind of disconnect with nature and our ecology. If we bring leaders back into nature and let them see, how the ecology actually happens around them, get them connected to that frequency, that have a lot of research and a lot of leaders out there are actually really doing this, and they really see results that leaders have a more trust and clarity about the decisions they make because it's made from the source, and there's no doubt that this decision is the decision that they will go with. But a lot of times when we are so focused on results and we kind of disconnect from the source, that's where Ricky, that you experience, the leaders are making these decisions in the wrong way, that's bringing the company to a different direction that should be.
Well, I'm not saying it's wrong. Perhaps in my point of view, it's wrong.
Right.
I don't know.
But if,
Our CEO is the goddamn smart person. Perhaps
yes,
he's the right one.
that's one of the challenges, right? Because in this new world, it's a co-lead and creation aspect of it, where because you need people to do the work and do the work based on their creativity state and their source, right? To be able to bring the whole company, because he cannot move the whole company. The whole company need to move together.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is, we're facing a real hard truth here, blatant, because one of us is in fear. We fear to lose our job. To be honest, I even fear to lose my job either in this COVID era. In Indonesia, I don't know in other countries, and it's really, really hard to get a job here. I know this is a movement that we must become entrepreneurs, get into another side of the quadrant, like Robert Kiyosaki said or whatever. But to be honest, I think like 90% in our company, perhaps in other companies, we are in fear. We are fear to losing our job. So when we got these KPIs, we got these projects from our boss and our boss above the boss, we just do. And then the culture becomes silo, Oh, this is my project, your project, your project. Then it's like the alignment is just in the word of the consultant. The consultant, you must have the culture, you must align, so on, so on. It's just the sweet words of consultants. But in real hard fact is we are in fear. We are fear to lose our job. So we just do our job, we reach our KPI, the target, schedule, we having the, we invite consultant to teach us agile management, the scrum master, whatever, the waterfall, whatever. We just do. That's no innovation there. Although it's in the umbrella of a new technology.
Yes. Can I say something? Yes. It's like, if you're operating at a different space and this container doesn't hold you anymore, right? It's either you kind of drag yourself into this space and waste your energy there, or you just come out and just do your own. Yeah.
Okay. Randy, do you want to continue? Because I
No,
can see Dr. Yugandhar.
Everybody can help.
I just wanted to say shed one more insight on that as well. It's as if you're forcing creativity or you're forcing spirituality, right? Because the context that you're talking about is so constrictive that it's like do, be creative, be spiritual. Like it's like that kind of environment that it's so much pressure and it's so much force that it's completely opposite of ease and flow. It's completely opposite of synchronicity. It's completely opposite from who you truly are and connected. And the reason for that is because of the loss in trust, the loss of trust in source. And so when you realize that there is a reason why this is happening too, then you realize that there's got to be the more negative and the more constricted one situation is, the bounce back into source is just as strong. So in a different parallel universe, there is a version of your company that is in complete flow, that is in complete harmony. And if you can tune into that frequency of it, and then get the answers from that frequency, the inspirations that Stephen was talking about in your incubation period, now that we plant the seed in you to see, that there is another version, then that will allow you to be receiving the solutions from a more peaceful standpoint as opposed to fear.
And this is what Stephen said, give a gap. Let there be a gap. Well, we have Dr. Yugandhar here with us. And Doctor, you're most welcome. He is the man behind this mega event. So for the panel discussion, he's here. And over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jyotiji. So warm welcome once again to all the most wonderful speakers. You all have come from different places to spend your very, very precious time on the board. Thank you very much for joining. And because this topic, the theme of the discussion is spirituality, business management. Let me ask you a question. Business is something which is related to outer world. There is no business inside. Our only business, if at all there is a business inside, is how to get connected with our own spirit If at all there's a business inside, there's activity inside. It is subjective phenomena. There is no money or bank balance or any Excel sheets involved inside. So when it comes to outer world, it's completely opposite. Everything is based on calculations, measurements, profitability, assessments, where we are, where to go, all these planning strategies, everything is there. So from the theme of spirituality and business management, one talks about how you should be, what you are inside. Another talks about how much you earn, how much you make profits. How do you think spirituality and profitability can go together? So someone can step forward. Maybe Ramaswamy sir, kindly step
I will
forward.
try to answer that question. See, as I told you, that if there is spirituality in a person, if he is aware that he is one who has to follow dharma, then righteousness is the basis for all his actions. Such a person will always ensure that he earns wealth subject to righteousness. He will not acquire wealth through illegal means. There will not be corruption in his area of work. So such a person, by way of character development, that is what I call character energy, he will not go for exorbitant profits. Minimum profits are necessary for the survival of the organization and for providing for contingencies. But beyond that, if there is any profit, he will distribute it as benefits to the society. It is possible. And earlier, one speaker mentioned that he is afraid, he suffers from fear when the bosses apply pressure. But why should you fear? Because spirituality is your strength, it makes you fearless. And if you are fearless, you act according to your conscience. And then you need not worry what the bother says. What I say is right according to my conscience. If I don't like the job, then I will find out something which will suit my capabilities. I am a man of minimum requirements. That will be the approach. One will not sacrifice principles just for the sake of succumbing to pressures. It is possible to be spiritual at the same time, make profit and survive in an organization, provided you have the basis of dharma as the basis of operations. And wealth should be acquired subject to dharma or righteousness, and so also desires. And this, by example, can inspire the workers, and you will ensure better harmony in the organization. That is my answer.
Yes, someone can step forward. Maybe
So-
Ricky NURIADI.
So it's then it's back to ourselves then, right? It's not about the boss. It's not about the company. It's about how we being ourselves, have we done, have we run ourselves, run our part of the business in according to Ramaswamiji, in Dharma, righteousness. Instead of thinking the restriction, the problem, the company, the feeling of stress, like push here, push there, push from above, push from below, is rather than we focus on our own spirituality. Is that what you say, Ramaswamiji? It's
Yes.
within us?
It is within us. This is what he said, yes. And this is what Jiddu Krishnamurti also says, isn't it? It's the individual and then the society comes. So first you and then the society.
Let me give a metaphor from today's world, okay? We all know about crowdfunding, right? People go to crowdfunding and they ask for all kinds of things. So you have entrepreneurs asking for crowdfunding to start a technology company and all that. But then you also have the social kind of crowdfunding where people notice that somebody is, there is a good cause to go for, and they ask for crowd funds, right? Now, what have you observed? What I have observed is that in this crowdfunding, when people ask for a good cause, they tend to be getting more than what they wanted. They get more than what they expected. So now, if we take this metaphor for our spirituality, whatever we are intend to do, what is the purpose behind it, right? If we want to make money, what's the purpose behind it? Okay, if it is for a good cause, the crowdfunders will all come in. Spiritually, if it's for a good cause, the source will provide all and more than you ever need, and they will open up roads for you that you never even thought about, right? But if the idea, the purpose behind it is something different, then maybe not so. Maybe not so, right? Yeah, some people not so clean, they still get there, but they have a price to pay somewhere down the line. Okay, so that's a metaphor that I want to use.
A good cause comes from a good heart. A
Yes.
good heart comes from a good spiritual background, which is cultivated through regular practice. And ultimately, I underline the word character energy, spiritual energy through the instruments of body, mind, and intellect, converted into character energy, which produces a beautiful character, a value system, which will benefit society. And in that process, you also benefit. So it is first society and then yourself. For that, you have to be pure first. That is that has got a radiating effect.
Yes,
Yes.
I've got a radiating
I was just
effect,
doing
right.
meditation recently on male energy and female energy. So this just came to mind. Profit is all male energy. Doing good, being connected, being, what's the word for that?
Spontaneous.
Forgot, being a charity, right? Having compassion, that's the word, compassion, that is a female energy. So are we approaching business from a male energy or the female energy?
Or we need more
You need to have
leaders.
both.
We need
You
more
need to have
female
both.
energy.
Female leaders, perhaps.
Yeah.
The world need more female leaders.
Ricky here, I would say you need to have both. It should be a balance of both.
Of course.
Yeah.
It
Yin
has
and
to be a
yang.
balance. Yes, it has to be a balance of both. Sometimes you require compassion, and sometimes you require that that male masculine energy
Drive.
also.
Yeah.
Yes, that drive, that push,
And
even continue. Yes, honey.
And I wanted to also build upon the point of the character energy, the spiritual body, and the intellectual energy. We cultivate that in ourselves, right? And that is something where we begin with, and that's where we hope that a lot of the CEOs and the companies and the leaders that run the world can embody. And at the same time, because our cellular structures represent our whole and we represent our communities and our communities represent the world, we can also see how different pieces of a business is also the body of the business. If you look at the business as a human body, then we can see, okay, what is the character that is a symbol of the business, and how can we help that character energy expand? How can we let the intellectual energy of the business expand? How can we allow the P&L as an entity, as an energetic entity, receive, flow, and also give, right, the cost and the revenues? How can those stream? How can the cash flow with consciousness? How can we spend money consciously to employ vendors who are in alignment with our vision? How can we spend money on receiving support that is in line with our consciousness? So it's not just about ourselves as an individual, but it's how we run the business as a human being. We can see as a connected human being, and each person and each leader is a cell that makes up the business structure, and the businesses make up the structure of the huge world that is one, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely right.
Goes back to the holding spaces that we talk about. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
this is
important.
Now, see, and just look, I'm really surprised, the energy of this group. We are vibrating with that. Wonderful discussion, enlightening discussion. Yes.
1 minute, please give me a minute.
Sure.
Everything comes out of thoughts. But there is a sloga, there is a verse in the Rig Veda which says, let noble thoughts come to us from every side. If we welcome noble thoughts, then our activities will be noble only, as long as we don't distort them. Similarly, the power of thought is such that I will go to the translation of one stanza: sow a thought and reap an idea. Sow an idea, reap an act. sow an act, reap a character, sow a character and reap a destiny. So you make a destiny out of a single thought. Just like I told you the example of banyan tree, you have got huge potential for excellence. Then why do you see there is a song sung by Tyagaraja, Saint Tyagaraja, a very devotional musician. He said, when milk is available, why do you drink liquor? When there is a right royal road, why do you go by bylanes? Like that, when there is a way of becoming excellent, improving human excellence, we would speak with the aid of spirituality. Why do you go for these earthly things which are all ephemeral, which don't have a lasting value? That should be the approach. That is what I want world united. I pray that we are able to make a dent on the problem by impressing on authorities like the United Nations to have the International Spirituality Day, just like the International Yoga Day, and underline the fact character energy. That is the future for the world if the world is to survive. Otherwise, I have to quote an Acharya, he said, the disease called modern civilization. This was the statement made by one great Acharya who lived 100 years in the last century. That should not happen.
That should not
We
happen.
want a healthy society, of contented society, a sustainable society with sustainable property where everyone is happy and peace, where there is peace.
How can we collectively make that happen? You know, the World Spirituality Day. Yeah, that's another question for everyone here.
Yeah.
Just like we have had this, just like we are having this, seminar, this parliament here. Similarly, one day everything is going to be okay, but then we should have more and more conscious people, and the responsibility lies with people like you all here. So let that energy rise in the world, and let us make it a united consciousness. Remove all the obstacles on the path of prosperity, because we are already, as Sir said, Ramaswamiji just said, that we all have that potential. So let us all live in joy and abundance. And with this, can I take with permission, should we close it down?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful, wonderful panel discussion. We have really enjoyed it. All of us here, and I'm sure all those who are watching this. Thank you, Hani. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Randy, Ricky ji, and Sir Ramaswamiji. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Randy.
all of you.
Thank you.
Stefan, thank you.
Everyone.
Annie,
See you
thank
soon.
Stefan.
See you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jyoti ji. Thank you, Ramaswamy sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Randy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hani. Thank you. Thank
God
you.
bless all of
Thank
you.
you,
Love,
Dr.
love and
Yugandhar.
light to all. Love and light to all. Love and light to all.
Again.
Thank you, Ramaswamy.
Ramaswamy sir.
Thank you, Jyoti.
Wonderful message
Thank you,
today.
everybody.
I have got more ideas to share for the benefit of the world.